Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
What is going on, everyone? I'd be lying to you if I said I was over the Eagles' loss and everything that happened to Carson Wentz. I feel empty. I do. I feel empty inside. That game gave me nothing. It all came down, really, to just Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, it's experiencing that game, and the fact that it didn't happen, it's so brutal. And hearing the reaction in the locker room, hearing his teammates feeling so sorry for him and really hurting for Carson Wentz, knowing everything that he went through when it comes to the media bashing him for being a bad leader and for being a bad teammate and all the turmoil inside the locker room and from the December run of beating those teams to get in, winning 4 straight games, for him to finally get over the hump and win over majority of this fan base for being a great quarterback. For it to go down like that with a dirty, cheap hit, it sucks. Now, I don't want to harp on the hit throughout majority of this video, but I do need to address it again because it just bothers me. It's 2020 in the NFL. For anyone who thinks that that wasn't cheap or that wasn't a dirty hit because Carson Wentz was a runner, and I'm saying air quotes there because it doesn't matter if you're a runner or not a runner, if you use the crown of your helmet or any part of your helmet to go head-to-head with a quarterback or any player, it is a penalty, and it's not about the flag. Once again, I don't care about the flag because the flag doesn't change the fact that Carson Wentz was heading to the locker room and out for the game. But it's ridiculous to think that that wasn't cheap. The discussion through national media, through Twitter, through X players in the league, it's so ridiculous and it's so all over the place. So many people think it was so intentional. So many people think it was not intentional but very brutal and illegal. Some people think, oh, it's fine, it's just football. Like, that's not how it is anymore, to be honest with you. I'm not telling you that he did it on purpose, but I think his intention was to maybe let Carson Wentz know, hey, it's going to be a long game. Hey, this is going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. I think he maybe gave a little extra on it just to show, listen, Carson, if you're going to want to run, you're going to have to take some hits. And that's fair. That's football. It's the playoffs as well. I'm not saying that that's not allowed and that's a wrong mindset. But the more I watch the replay, Carson Wentz was already being tackled. He already was being tackled by a Seattle player. So he was going forward, but he was on his way down. So Jadeveon Clowney, seeing that he's on his way down, decided to lean with his helmet and get Carson Wentz on the helmet. To me, it was just awful and very unnecessary. Russell Wilson was running around all game long, and I rewatched the game, and I watched every single play. I would rewind things. I'd go back in slow motion. I was studying everything, and I watched Russell Wilson, and he was sliding with his feet first, so sure, that changes things, I guess, mentally at times. But every Eagles player, when Russell Wilson was sliding, put his hands on him. Put his hands on him. That's all you needed to do. Since Carson Wentz was moving forward already, just put your hands on him. Put your hands on his back. He was already going down. So just put your hands on him. It was unnecessary. And in today's era of football, whether you want to be a get-off-my-lawn type of guy, and, well, back in my day, or any of that crap, well, that's not football. Football's too soft. Whether you think that or not, this is the rules. This is how it is. And it blows my mind that the NFL decided to, I guess, look another way and look a different direction when it comes to this specific play. Because this is everything that they are trying to get out of this football game. Everything. And it's the right mindset when it comes to getting that type of play out of the game. There's so much more to talk about when it comes to how I feel with the Eagles right now. But before we do, we need to hear a word from my sponsor, SeatGeek. Are you looking to go to a Sixers game, a Flyers game, or any other team's games? Well, if you use the promo code BROADS at SeatGeek's checkout page, you get $20 off of your total purchase. That's parking. That's beer. It's a no-brainer to use the promo code BROADS today. Now, according to Stephen A. Smith, and he is very connected to the city of Philadelphia, his Eagles sources, who are inside the organization, are claiming that Carson Wentz was so concussed that he didn't know what happened. He didn't remember the play or know anything that happened. He had no recognition of what happened. And he was swaying in the blue tent. Now, the scary part is he played more snaps. He played about 5 snaps after that hit. So he was potentially out there not even conscious, not even knowing what was going on. That is so scary and really awful to think about. Like, don't tell me it wasn't a helmet-to-helmet hit when Carson Wentz is that banged up. Now, his head hit the ground as well, but it was both. I mean, the guy was really, really out of it, according to Stephen A. Smith and his Eagles insider sources, which I do believe because, as I stated, he has ties to this city, and he wouldn't just blare that out on TV if he didn't trust who he is talking to, and I'm sure it's someone who is very involved in this situation. So apparently, Carson Wentz went to the sideline and told Josh McCown, be ready. And Zach Ertz noticed that something wasn't right. No one should be questioning Carson Wentz for going out of the game and checking himself out. Don't tell me that other quarterbacks would have battled through this. That's not what this is about. Knowing what we know today about brain trauma and CT and all that, good for Carson Wentz for checking himself out. That's the right move, and he needed to do it. I mean, if he's blacked out, unconscious out there, that's ridiculous for anyone to question Carson Wentz. And with the whole injury-prone thing, that's where this is leading to, and it's annoying. This is the thing. He has missed 8 games in 4 years, 8 regular season games. And then you'll bring up, well, he hasn't made the games that mattered. He wasn't available for playoff games. Well, first off, counting how many playoff games means nothing to me. Because what if Nick Foles lost the first game against the Falcons? Well, then it wasn't 3 games that he missed. And Carson Wentz had no effect on how many playoff games were played. The only thing he affected is getting to the playoffs. But here's the thing. You talk about how many games he's unavailable for in the playoffs. He's getting to the playoffs. Like his first year, he played 16 games, no playoffs. Okay. Then he played 11 games. The team won the Super Bowl that year, and he got the team to... I'm sorry, he played 13 games. He played 13 games the next year, and he got his team to the playoffs. And home field advantage. Okay, very important. For some reason, people like to forget that part of it. Just Nick Foles won. That's it. That's all that mattered. Nick Foles just won. There was no one else before that put the team in a big position to win. The following year, he played 11 games, and he had the back injury, and it wasn't his smoothest year from the eye test, but statistically, it was strong. In this season, he played 16 games, and an unfortunate event where a player decided to make a poor decision really hurt Carson Wentz. Like, there's no way for Carson Wentz to get out of that situation. It wasn't about him sliding the wrong way or anything. That's not what it is. There's no way for him to put himself in a different position. That's not a spot for Carson Wentz to throw the ball away. Don't tell me Tom Brady would throw the ball away there because Tom Brady's 40-something years old and he's not mobile. Any mobile quarterback would run in that situation. Russell Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield. And it's not about the slide. That wasn't a position for Carson Wentz to slide on his feet instead. It was a screen that got blown up to the left side and he took off to gain a couple yards. That wasn't a spot to throw it away. That wasn't a spot to slide differently. It was based off of everything happened because one person on the other team decided to make a bad decision, an illegal decision, and hit him in the head. It's no one's fault other than Jadeveon Clowney for making that decision to hit Carson Wentz. And it's frustrating. It really is. But there's really no way to stop that from happening. It's the nature of the sport. People do make illegal hits all the time. It's a physical sport. People get injured. That's just how it is. And it's just a shame that it happened to Carson Wentz now when it comes to his narrative of can he stay healthy and all that. Like I don't think anyone's questioning if he's good enough. We've seen the talent. We've seen what he did through December. We saw what he did with these practice squad players. Now the question is, can he be ready to play in big moments? Can he be available to play in big moments? And this hit by Jadeveon Clowney now changed everything when it comes to Carson Wentz and the way he is looked at. And I can't believe what I'm hearing from ex-players and the media and all that. I really can't. I don't know why Carson Wentz is so looked down upon or hated, or I don't get it. I really don't get it. Now, I know guys like Max Kellerman are all filled with clickbait, and he rips Carson Wentz apart, but that's all kind of a shtick, and that's not really the guys I'm talking about. I'm talking more about, ex-players and all of these other people who are ripping apart Carson Wentz, and I don't get it. What has he done? I mean, it's not like he's an ass. Let's be real. He's not an ass. He's a good dude. He follows the Lord. He's very faithful. He's always positive. It's not like he has this Baker Mayfield personality where he thinks he's better than everyone else. So for some reason, there's a disconnect, and it blows my mind why that is. As I stated, I rewatched the game, and seeing Josh McCown battle through that, it was remarkable. It really was. I feel for the guy. It's crazy, the storylines between both quarterbacks. Two guys playing in their first postseason games. One, Carson Wentz, the franchise guy, who we are waiting to see play in a big-time moment. And Josh McCown, a 17-year-old veteran who retired and came back. And he got his first nod, and he was crying, pouring tears out of his face. And the guy gave us everything. Everything. Sure, he took some snaps, or it's not snaps. He took some sacks for holding onto the ball too long, and maybe some of that was because of the fact that these were practice squad receivers. For example, we now hear after the game that the 4th and 7 call, when it was under 2 minutes left in that one possession part of the game late, it seemed like there was a disconnect. Some players didn't run the right routes, and that's why no one really got open, and that's why he wasn't able to throw the ball to anyone. But listen, Josh McCown, the moral of the story for this is, wow, did I love his heart? Did I love his passion that he played with? And he was willing to take on the opportunity and give us everything he had left in the tank, and it was a beautiful thing. The broadcast was awful when explaining it. Awful. It's obvious that they were told to not discuss it, which is ridiculous. That's the NFL knowing that there was a mistake made and they don't want to put it on display. Because Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, they've been around for a long time. They've been around forever, and they're a damn good team. Good broadcasting team. So for them to stick away from something so major and that played such a big factor in the game, it's obvious that they were told, hey, do not bring this up again. Let's move forward. And then Josina Anderson interviewed him after the game, and I think she might have brought something up, but their team as a whole didn't bring anything up when it came to interviewing Clowney afterwards, and it was a mess. It really was. All around it was a mess, and I am emotional about it because I believe in Carson Wentz, and I think he did such a great job, and I feel for the kid. I really do. Everything he's been through, this is just brutal, and sometimes life can be so disgusting and so upsetting. And of course, I'm not going to the extreme of, I'm talking about in terms of football and in sports. There's things that can happen in the real world that are way more brutal than getting a concussion in a football game, right? I mean, I don't want to get to that level, but you all understand what I'm saying. Deaths in the family and things of that nature. I'm not going to that degree. But when it comes to the sports gods, the football gods, and just everything he has battled through when it comes to adversity with the media and the locker room and all of the noise bashing him and questioning who he is, it's a damn shame. And it's no one's fault other than the person who decided to make a poor decision and using his helmet to make a hit. It's funny because Clowney afterwards stated that he was disappointed in this fan base knowing that he would get death threats and all of that. Well, something tells me that maybe he felt a little guilty. There's something to me that says, well, if I made a poor decision, I would know and think about the outcome. Okay, what's coming next, right? The cause and effect. What's coming next? Well, I think he realized he made a really terrible decision, and he knew he was going to get some hate for it. Not that I think that that's the right thing to do. I would never do that. And there are people out there that are sharing screenshots of Eagles fans that are threatening other people. And just because there's a little bit of people who do that, that doesn't mean that's the whole fan base, right? There are idiots everywhere in every fan base that are going to go to an obnoxious level. I'm not saying he deserves death threats. He absolutely does not. But for him to come out and state that so quickly after the game and say we're the worst fans ever, I think he knows he made a mistake. And he was thinking, what's the effect going to be after this one? It's a tough spot. And for me to sit here a day after, I'm not over it yet. And I think that's fair. I think that's fair to not be over it yet. It was a big-time thing. It's a playoff game that we will never forget, right? Not because of the outcome. It's not about the outcome. It's not about the flag. It's not about anything other than we wanted to witness Carson Wentz, and it was as if we were robbed. It was as if we were robbed of that. That's all we wanted. We just wanted to see him compete. He didn't even have to play great. We just wanted to see him compete and get the experience. We knew the situation. We knew the circumstances. We knew what we were going to battle with. Miles Sanders apparently has this big-time injury. He played through it. Zach Ertz with the kidney and the ribs and the practice squad guys. Like, we knew everything. And I'm not trying to say, oh, look at the Eagles. They're the only team banged up. No, because the Seahawks were banged up, and every team is banged up at this point. But we were being realistic. We know what the talent is. We know that there's a spot where the Eagles can max out at. There's some other news though when it comes to the Eagles. That was a hard stop on the hit in the game against the Seahawks, but there's only so much I can talk about before I lose my mind even more. But there are some news when it comes to the Eagles. Malcolm Jenkins wants a contract. Malcolm Jenkins wants a legit upgrade, and he's not going to play until he gets that, and he was very loud about it. And we've had this discussion when it comes to Howie Roseman keeping ties with players, and it's this organization as a whole. They like to hold on to players that have value to them emotionally. With Malcolm Jenkins at the age of 32, this guy has played every snap for 2 seasons. He plays special teams. He has played close to 98% of snaps since he's been here. This guy needs to be here. There's no one to take over. There's way more holes to fix. You got to pay the man. You pay the man. He does too much on the field. He plays too many snaps. He's way too much of a leader inside the locker room. Pay the man. Keep him here and then worry about the safety position down the road, and you can use these draft picks to fill the wide receiver position, to look at other spots as well. But you keep Malcolm Jenkins here. He has a lot to bring to the table, not just on the field, but off the field. He plays too many positions. He's so versatile. You keep Malcolm Jenkins here. This is a situation where, when it comes to emotional ties and all that, it's more than just that. It's not just an emotional tie thing. The guy actually produces. And I know he has a lot of miles on the tires here, and at some point he's on the back end of his career because he is 32 years old and he has a ton of experience and a ton of snaps under his belt. But right now, with where this team is, you can't lose him. You can't lose him. You cannot lose him. He did something big this season by just playing anyway. You bring Malcolm Jenkins back. Way too important. Now, Jason Peters, on the other hand, he wants to play too. I don't know how I feel about that. You draft Andre Dillard. He's your first-round talent. You sit him this year. You're going to sit him again? Now, Jason Peters was not Jason Peters in his prime this season. We all know that. And to be fair, that's going to happen with his age. But I also don't think he was as bad as we saw with our eyes. Last game, I gave him a couple woofs, like woof. And I was very emotional after the game about Jason Peters. I don't know what to do. I would say it's time to move on. But if he was willing to slide over and play guard and have Dillard play tackle, would things change? I mean, we need line depth. And Vaitai is most likely going to be out of here. And the line depth is very important because anything can happen. And we've seen Brandon Brooks go down now 2 seasons in a row. Line depth is very important. That's all I'm saying. So if there's a way to do this the right way and find ways to make this work and work in Andre Dillard, and there can be a discussion if this is worked out properly. That's all I'm going to say, because you're going to lose Vaitai. And guess what? Whether you like it or not, or whether you like him or not, Vaitai has played a decent amount over the last few seasons because guys get injured, because things happen. So we need that. It's important. We need to look at this properly and not just overreact to Jason Peters and his age and whatnot. I think there needs to be a discussion about it for like a 1-year thing, but it needs to be the right circumstances. It's not, hey, Dillard, sit on the bench again for your 2nd season, never play, and Jason Peters, you just play the full season. I don't know if I want to go that route. And also, Jim Schwartz is getting interviewed by the Cleveland Browns. I don't think he'll get the head coaching job, but it is very interesting because Jim Schwartz is more important than people think he is. He's frustrating at times. I think this year was his best season when it comes to being versatile and not being so stubborn and trying different things and giving different looks and whatnot. I liked what Jim Schwartz brought to the table. I think this is one of his strongest seasons, to be honest with you, and that's even including a Super Bowl season, which is crazy. Maybe that's going a little far, but I liked how he got out of his comfort zone. Let's just say that. I don't think he'll get the job based off of their personnel and just based off of how the NFL works these days. They want the offensive gurus. But if they were to lose Jim Schwartz, I think it will be hurting this team. Now, Wade Phillips got fired, and not fired, I guess his contract will not be renewed. That's a 3-4 scheme compared to the 4-3 scheme that the Eagles run now. There's a lot of question marks with that. I'm just saying keep an eye out on it. I didn't think he would get much interest as a head coach, and the Browns interviewing him doesn't seem like a strong connection. It just seems like, hey, we're doing our due diligence and we're going to interview a bunch of guys, but it is the Browns. So who knows? They can pass up on some good coaches and say, give us Jim Schwartz. And Jim Schwartz is a guy that always kind of wanted to be a head coach over the defensive coordinator. We know he was the coach at the Lions, and everyone wants to be a head coach over coordinators, but it seemed as if, and there were some reports about this, when he got here, it was, hey, I'm going to be the head coach in Philadelphia one day. I guess he didn't expect Doug Pederson to be as successful as he was, and now he's that D coordinator, but it's not a bad position to be. When Doug Pederson is the offensive coordinator and the offensive guy, when you're a D coordinator for an offensive head coach, you're running the show, and he has a lot to say here. So I can't imagine him being that upset with his role here in Philly, and we have a lot of success here as well. So I can't see him being that upset, but I think he looked at this organization when he was first hired and said, I want to be the head coach here. I'm going to be the head coach here. Not I want to, I'm going to be. And it doesn't look like that door is opening anytime soon. So just something to think about. With that being said, I'm not over it. It hurts. Empty. Empty's the word to describe it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, and I will see you next time.